Today for the rally, we continue our exploration of what it means to be a patriot in 2024, how the founding principles are relevant or irrelevant, or used to be relevant, or relevant in different ways, or need to be understood, or the nuances have changed over the time. So we're exploring all of that this summer. And so today I want to start with a lesson in law and thinking like a lawyer, and then it's going to be followed up by a history quiz. So pay particular, you can ignore the lawyer stuff, but pay particular attention to the history quiz. The legal lesson. You may not be able to tell because each week when I get up here I say and I say and sometimes I sound like a blithering idiot, but as a lawyer I am trained in the analysis of language and the use of language, and specifically words that are expressed or words that are implied, things that are said, and just as importantly sometimes things that are not said. To interpret language in words and sentences and documents according to their meaning, to see really what does it actually say, and so I want to apply that to something that is relevant with respect to this summer's issues. One of the things the best lesson to me on this was the Bill Clinton Monica Lewinsky thing. Everybody knows that Bill said, well, it depends on what the meaning of is, and that was the terrible thing to say politically, and it sounds like a first grader, and everything about it is absolutely terrible and awful, except as a lawyer, it was absolutely appropriate. The question he was asked, which was, first of all, a really bad question to ask somebody, but is there a sexual relationship with Mrs. Lewinsky? Is there? And at that point, there was not. At that point, they had broken up, or they weren't still doing what they were doing. So the question, so when he answered, it depends on what the meaning of the word is was actually absolutely appropriate. If I say to you, if I say to you today, is there a rally? Is Justice Southbury doing rallies? The answer is yes. 5 years from now, the answer, is Justice Southbury doing rallies, might be no. But if someone says, if someone says 5 years from now, is Justice Southbury still doing rallies, and someone says no, they're not, and someone says, well, you did back in 2024, the question in that case, of course, is the tense. So when he's asked, is there a sexual relationship, he's being appropriate by saying it depends on what the meaning of the word is, because you really should be asking me, was there, not is there. Anyway, that's a perfect, everybody knows that example. It's a perfect example of how you've got to be really careful with your language. And I want to apply that to a document that I think you all know, which is the Declaration of Independence. So, first of all, Declaration of Independence, what was it? This is the history quiz part. What was the Declaration of Independence?
A document.
It was a document that sold real estate from one party to another. It was a declaration of what? What were we saying we were doing? Separating from England. Yep. And who were we telling that we were doing that to? To whom were we declaring this? The world. Exactly. In the Declaration of Independence, the leaders of what was not yet a country said, we need to tell the world why we are doing what we're doing. And so in the first paragraph, they explain why we're here. Why in July of 1776, why are we here? And it's when, in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bonds which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. So this group of really smart people said that a decent respect to the opinions of mankind, not just today, but 248 years later, when people are still talking about the Declaration of Independence, this group said, we need to explain. We owe it to history to explain what are the causes for us to declare independence. Then there's the second paragraph, and this is where the quiz comes in. I'll give you the first couple of words, and I need you guys to tell me the rest, and we're going to see how you do, okay? We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, Sorry? That they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Okay. Does everybody agree? Anyone want to edit that in any way? So what we have is, we hold these truths to be self-evident. That all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So what they're saying there is, these things are so true that they're self-evident. We don't even have to say them. We don't have to prove them. In law, we say that's something you can just assume. These are so obviously inalienable rights that we don't even have to say them. They're self-evident. And those certain unalienable rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But you all said that you're satisfied with that, and that's your quiz. That's your answer. Does anybody want to amend that and say, wait a minute, Rick, isn't there more? Isn't there like something else? Yeah, John. You say the starting point? Okay, but we're not there yet. We have to get the sentence first, because guess what? That's not the sentence. There's more. And this is, what's that? Doesn't say one nation under God. No. It says that we hold these truths to be self-evident. That all men are created equal. They are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This is where we go back to the legal lesson. They were saying there are certain rights that are so obvious, and they come just from the fact that we are human beings, that we don't even have to say them. They are unalienable. They can't be changed. They're not subject to the vagaries of time or the type of government you have or how we treat each other. There's certain things that are obvious, like life. We have the right to life. We have the right to liberty. We have the right to pursuit of happiness. And we have the right to something else. Because they say that among these rights, that's like me saying, among my daughters are Anna and Grace. Now that tells you he must have at least one more daughter. And I don't like to admit it, really, but yeah, Julie is my daughter. But so the founders were saying, in this one of the most famous sentences in American history that we all pretty much know, and I why am I making such a big deal out of this? Because I've seen that sentence 1,000 times. But a couple of months ago, when I started thinking about this series this summer, I really looked at it and said, wait a minute. They are saying there are other unalienable rights that are so fundamental to living and to being that we don't even need to express them. We don't even need to prove that they exist. Life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and other things, or other thing. So I want to use that as a framing for this summer. What were they talking about? What are the other things? If among these rights are life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, what didn't they say? And why didn't they say it? And did they then, and this is where we go through the rest of the summer, did they then really express that in the Constitution, in the preamble, and in the way they then set up the government? Because what follows, the next sentence that Julie's going to pick up on as well, the next sentence is that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. So that's why you have a government, to make sure that people's unalienable rights are preserved. Life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and something else. And that governments derive their just powers from the consent of the governed. And that this government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. So the reason for a government is to preserve and to affect the safety and happiness of the citizens. So, so ultimately then, I raised this question that they have left, and a lawyer reading that looks at every word, says, yeah, it does depend on what the meaning of the word is. And as a lawyer, when I say among these things, I'm saying there are others. I'm going to express some, but I'm not expressing them all. So that, I think, will be sort of a framing device for what we'll discuss later on this summer, including next week. Ed Edelson will be here talking about religion and the basically religious rights and freedoms that were inherent from the time of the Declaration and the Constitution. We had Michael Carrington last week speaking about separation of powers, and we had Professor David Bass speaking 2 weeks ago so eloquently about what it means to be a patriot. So this theme then that I'm trying to develop for us is that from the beginning of the formation of an independent country, obviously by 1776, natives had been there for 1,000 years. White people had been there for over 150 years. So there was stuff already. But in 1776, when they said, we need to take that stuff and do something new with it and make this new place, the patriotism that they had from then, which is the patriotism that's always been the best of America since then, is not the patriotism of nostalgia looking back. It is the patriotism of hope looking forward. And so as we discuss it this summer, I want to return to that theme of the difference of a patriot is someone who looks back nostalgically at what was, versus a patriot is someone who looks forward with hope at what can be. So that, I think, is the way we're going to look at things this summer. So thank you.